What happens when a risk-taking entrepreneur jumps into gaming with a bold vision and zero legacy baggage? Well, my guest today is the charismatic and endlessly energetic CEO of Ultra. And he's on a mission to shake up how we access and experience games. Now, let's face it, it doesn't matter if you are 5 years old or 80 years old. We all play games of some sort online, on mobile devices, even on our TVs and computers. And from building Ultra into the Netflix of gaming to redefining the role of Web3 in the gaming economy, my guest today isn't just thinking big, he's thinking massive. And together we're going to explore why current platforms are failing both gamers and developers, and how Ultra plans to fix it. And what does this mean for Europe's place in the global gaming landscape? So the question I want answering today is it time for the gaming world to expect more from its platforms, rather than just keep putting up with the traditional model? And on that note, I'm going to officially introduce you to today's guest. So thank you for joining me on the podcast today. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
Wow, what a wide questions. Who I am? Well, how to define myself? I probably start with an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur all my life. So I'm 41 now. Fuck. So it's been more than 20 years. And a father of two daughters. And yeah, and probably I'm a risk taker. That's what can define me as an entrepreneur and as a man in this planet. Love the risk because I love the rewards next to it, and Ultra is definitely one of the risk I love to take.
Awesome, man! You had me at risk-taking entrepreneur, and you're in Nice today, right? What are you doing there?
Yeah, well, there is the ETC in Nice. Last year was in Brussels. This time is in Nice. So, it's always a place where you get the feeling of what's coming out next, meeting some peoples. And anyway, for the worst, you're enjoying the weather, right?
Yeah, man, I'm 100% with you. And of course, you've stepped into the CEO role at Ultra following a new $12 million raise. I've got to ask, as the risk-taking entrepreneur, what was it that attracted you to this role? And what's the first thing that you focused on as you take the reins?
Well, why did I got interested in Ultra? So in very short, 2 years ago, I've been launching and selling companies for the last 20 years. The last one was 2 years ago, strategic consulting firm in Paris, and then did some investment for 2 years. And then I fell into Ultra. I promised myself to not managing a company ever again. I was like, okay, now let's do it finance and that's it. And then, you're trying to, in French, we say chasser le naturel, il revient au galop, meaning that you're trying to hide who you are and then it come back, whatever. So yeah, I fell into Ultra very opportunistically, as every time in business, meeting people. Fell into on the founder that's it's got the kids at the same school than mine, and discover how big and marvelous and so much opportunity there is into the gaming industry. So start to dig into it as every time I'm watching a business, and one of this beauty of this industry, it's an industry that basically has been run by geeks for the last 40 years, and I guess there is definitely not enough business people that gets into it yet. So as a businessman, as a business focused guy, you can bring a lot of things into the gaming industry, because yesterday was for the geeks. So logically it was run by geeks. Today, everybody is a gamer, right? From the 5 years old to the grandma, everybody is a gamer. And it goes to, and gaming goes way beyond just the games. You're learning by playing, you're working by playing, you're training yourself by playing. So this notion of gaming is going so wide that more and more very big business people is going to get in. And when you get on the early stage of this industry of being very business oriented, it's very interesting because you can bring a lot. Now I lost your questions because you give me the mic and I'm starting to talk. What was the origin of your question?
It just really, I mean, what attracted you to the role and what you wanted to focus on?
Well, as an entrepreneur, what you're trying to bring, what you're trying to do is to bring value. That's what you do, right? And as I said, the gaming industry, I think it's an industry where business entrepreneur can really bring value because there is a massive knowledge inside the industry, but it's not leveraged enough by business people, and that's what attracted me to me. It's to say, God, this is a place where I can really bring value, not with my knowledge of gaming, even though you have to make a massive effort. It's always interesting as an entrepreneur to get into an industry that you've got no clue about. Why? Because it brings you to a point where you have to be very careful for anything you think, and so you have to constantly bring experts around you. One of the big mistakes as an entrepreneur is that you reach to a point to say, I know so. And the moment you know so is the moment you're gonna get fucked. That's for sure. And when you get into an industry where you don't know shit, you can the moment you get to this point is very far. So you've got a large amount of time before making mistakes because you constantly surrounding yourself with experts before taking decision. So it's an interesting place to be in when you don't know anything about it, because your job as an entrepreneur is not knowing the expertise of your industry, as your job is to making decision by hearing all the experts and say, this is the good decision in terms of business. So that's being in an industry that I don't know, and on the same time, industry where I can bring a lot of value. That's why attracted me to Ultra first, and then I get to know Ultra. God, man, this is a bloody jewelry, and that's the crazy thing about this industry is that you can fall into unpolished diamonds. It's just like crazy. This company has been build a tech for the last 7 years. You've got big fucking brains who's been sleeping, dreaming, eating for the last 7 years to build a tech, and nothing has been done in terms of business. So as a businessman, when you see this, it's just like the leverage that you can have on it. It's incredible. It's incredible. And what it's interesting is that I'm not the only one to believe it. When you look at the FDV of Ultra, like 2 years ago it was 2.5 billion, right? And that's the export of an industry who believed that it could there was something. Well, the challenge of Ultra is that at some point when there is no business, you just a tech company that doesn't making money, and then people, the market start to get fed up and tired of it. But that's what we're here for. Me and Noya to put this business layers and bring Ultra to the level it deserves.
And as you said, gamers cover every single age range from 5 years old to a grandma age 80. And
exactly.
And I love what you focus on here by bringing value and focusing on bringing value. And you've previously described Ultra as the Netflix of gaming. So what does that actually mean in practice? And how does it go beyond all those other platforms like Steam and Epic, even Apple, Xbox and Sony? They're all doing things to try and become this Netflix of gaming. But what is it makes you guys different?
Well, the thing is that, first of all, you have to look at what has changed in the market, right? As we say, everybody is a gamer. And one of the things that's very interesting also is to see that we are the first generation where a dad and a son is playing the same game.
Yeah.
They both gamer, right? Back then, a gamer was this, like adolescent playing in the garage, buttons all over his face, and trying to, and the parents was like, "Fuck, this kid's gonna, like fail his life," right? Today, everybody's a gamer, and we know that, of course, there is a problem of a screen addiction and all this, but still, like gaming is not a bad thing anymore, right? And so demographically, it's make a tremendous change. Yesterday was just for the young nerds. Today, it's a social aspect. It's something that you're sharing as much as movies and music, right? And when you look at the entertainment industry, basically there is three major pillars, right? There is the music, the film industry, and the gaming industry, right? That's the three major pillars inside the entertainment of digital, I would say, right? Of course, there is all the rest, but in terms of digital entertainment industry, music, film, and gaming. And the two first one has been completely reinvent in the way you access to the content. Netflix and Spotify didn't came into the industry and say, okay, you guys listening or watching shit, I'm going to give you something better. No, they came and say, guys, the way you access to your content is so not accurate the way you would like to consuming it. We're going to reinvent it, right? And by reinventing the way you access to the contents, somehow they had a major print of the in the content. Like look at the music. Back then, we used to consume album. You put the CD, you press play, you listen to Bob Marley from A to Z, right? Today, yeah. You a listening playlist. It goes from Bob Marley to Shakira to Mother to whatever it is. You never listening an album from A to Z. Now, big major guys constantly producing fits. Like two singers at the same time. So you're changing the content. Netflix has changed the content in terms of films with series and all this. Well, by the fact that you see that the games hasn't changed in terms of contents, where gamers are completely different, technology are completely different, it means that the way you access to the content hasn't changed, right? And games, more than any other industry, are social aspects. You playing games with people, right? Yesterday, gamers were just, and that's how much gamers has changed as well. Yesterday, a gamer was a guy behind his computer or behind his console playing the game, eventually with friends next to him, but he was playing the game, right? Today, gamers, what a gamer is. If you want to define a gamer, it's someone who's playing games, but it's also someone who's watching games, right? There is people who's watching games for hours, right? Those guys define themselves as gamers, like they like games, right?
Yeah.
There is people who's creating content around games. So they're spending hours of commenting, creating, clipping gamers. So for them, they are gamers. They're consuming games, right? So by the fact that the gamer has completely changed, the way you access to the content needs to change as well. It needs to fit those guys, Theoretically, if you launch a game today, and it's only fun to play, but it's a disaster in terms of playing and in terms of playing and creating, in terms of watching and creating content. Well, it's a game that's not going to work. So it's essential that you've got something that fits the different type of players, and that's what Ultra wants to do. It wants to put in place the first platform that takes care of those different type of players. The first platform that understand how much social is the first reason to play, right? When you're going to play tennis, let's start with what the fuck a game is, right? If you play tennis with your friends, the first thing you want to do is to have fun with your friend, right? You could play tennis in front of a wall and that's it. Like, for example, it's so the notion of social aspect is essential. And if you place that as a center of a platform, that's the way you're going to change it. That's the way you're going to change the way people consume consuming games. And that's what Ultra wants to do, right? And how do we do this? Well, Again, there will be a big reveal of the platform end of year, as already mentioned several times. Ultra is probably, and that's why we are ahead of all the competition, is that we're the only platform that has been built as an OS, has been built as a super app, right? Meaning that we've got the capacity, the technology capacity to plug and play all the different type of actors, technological actors on us. Because we've got this blockchain layers, we are ahead in terms of technology so much in terms of gaming. We'll discuss that a bit later in terms of the blockchain games, but it's all those different blocks that makes us very different and much more agile than any other guys that's on the competition. I know that we don't have 5 years ahead of us. We ahead of the competition of 12, 18, 24 months. That's the competitive edge that we're having in terms of technology.
And I know in the past you've been candid about the stream limitations, the limitations on Steam for publishers. So in your view, where does Steam fall short, and how are you at Ultra taking this different approach?
Well, I'm harsh on Steam, just philosophically, because at some point, having a monopoly, it gives you a certain responsibility inside an industry. All right, I give you the example, a complete different example. Total, right, has got a responsibility to make a new type of energy raised, right? Because if they're not doing so, if they're not somehow taking the responsibility of it, it's not going to work, right? Yeah. So major guys into the petrol industry need to take the responsibility because they own the shit, right? And so if we want to see other type of energy, we need them. Well, Steam is the same thing. When you've got a monopoly, you've got a responsibility. It's directly linked. You cannot just, eat the entire pie and not somehow, making sure that there is another pie who's coming, right? So at some point, those guys should have reinvent much more the industry. And when you see the way Steam, to summarize, is the same fucking platform that I've seen when I was a kid. Nothing has changed. Yes, a little chat here and there, and some few things, but nothing else. Nothing. We at the age where you start from your computer, you keep running on your TV, you going on the street with your smartphone, you socialize with all your friends. You everything is interlinked. Steam is incapable of doing that. Incapable. The way they refusing completely the Web3 aspect. I'm not asking gaming Web3. I'm talking about the Web3 technology. How much Web3 technology can serve the games, right? How much cross-platform needs to be. How much the social aspect needs to be in. All those things. How much they, sucking up publisher. Steam is taking 30% out of those publishers. And they're not making nothing in terms of links to the end user and the publisher. Where are we ending up? We're ending up with people making games like 30 years ago, right? And completely losing track of what the market needs. It's funny. I was discussing with a very interesting guy the other day, and it was telling me that his kid was I think 9 years old, and big gamer. And this kid was playing the Kellogg's games as much as the Counter-Strike. It's just two different games for him, right? So, yesterday, a gamer, if you would tell me when I was 12, saying, okay, you're a gamer? Yeah, I'm a gamer. And are you playing the Kellogg's game? No, of course not. It's a fucking, that's for my grandma shit, right? They kids playing that, They're going to play the Red Bull game, the Coca-Cola game, and the Counter-Strike. And GTSX, they don't care. It's different momentum. It's different thing they expect of expectation. So everything is a game, right? And when you see this, you must adapt yourself in function of that. And in Steam, literally sitting on assets of being the monopoly and not doing anything for the industry. And then at the end, we've got games that is like not moving ahead. We've got small players that cannot play the game. We've got big players that losing money. So this monopoly of Steam is literally blocking the industry. Literally, to me, honestly, they've got a major responsibility of of what the gaming industry is today, and they definitely helped the industry at some points, and now they definitely making the industry in the bottleneck.
And Ubisoft's early support of Ultra also feels like a big signal of what's to come and the changes that are coming. But from your point of view, what does this partnership involve, and how are major publishers reacting to Ultra's model compared to those traditional platforms? What are they getting attracted by?
No. Well, let's be frank. We had several major big guys that being around Ultra in very early. We had AMD, we had Intel, with the Ubisoft, some big guys. But those big guys, at the end of the day, they are business people, right?
Yeah.
And they're also very technological, so they recognize the tech of Ultra, but at some point they need business, and that's what Ultra did lack. As I said, we got a bunch of geeks who develop a splendid tech who attract all those big guys around us, but we haven't been able to deliver a proper business afterwards, right? And that's what we're doing now. So very close with all those big guys. And why did they came to Ultra? Like all the others who's invest into Ultra early stage is because they know how massive the tech of Ultra is. Now it's time to make business out of it.
And Ultra is also built on Web3 infrastructure, but there are many gamers that still don't care about blockchain. So how are you designing the platform so the tech enhances the experience without overwhelming and people don't need to care about what it's built on, really? They just want that experience.
Exactly. And let's be clear, there is not a lot of players that not interested in Web3. There is just players who doesn't give a shit about Web3. Right? Let's be clear. Well, the Web3 gaming is, I still didn't find any Web3 gamers. They don't exist somehow. You've got big fans of the little thing that's coming out, but at first they are gamers, and if you're giving them a Web2, Web3, they're just happy. People who playing with Web3 gamers are crypto people who invest into the thing because they want to find the next coin that's gonna hit, right? But at the end, a gamer is a gamer. He wants to play. He wants to have fun. That's it, right? And for different reasons, some wants to have fun, wants to compete, some wants to earn money, some all different type of gamers. But at the end, you want to play, right? So, what I think what Web3 game kind of forgot is that Web3 is a technology. That's it, right? It's just a technology. A technology is there to serve. No? It's not a reason why gamers would come, right? It's just there to serve. And so it somehow needs to be invisible, right? And how does the Web3 is going to serve the industry of Web2? Well, the first step, and we made a very early move on this, is to plug together those financial crypto guy with the volume of gamers, right? And when you look at Ashes of Mankind, that's what we did. We developed a Web2 game, very massive shooter, and next to that, a Web3 tool for crypto people, for financial people that's gonna play on this tool to develop things for the Web2 people and for the gamers. Gamers not gonna see that. Gamers gonna buy assets. They're gonna buy weapons. They're gonna buy plenty of different things, and they're gonna be able to do so because those Web3 guys did develop it and gonna sell it to the Web2 guys, right? So it's plugging basically people who likes the financial aspect of games with gamers who likes to play, right? That's the first thing Web3 can give to the markets. The notion of owning assets is definitely there as well. But let's be clear: the notion of transferring assets from having your sword from one game to another, it's not there. I mean, why the hell the IP owner of Counter-Strike would allow to take your weapons on Fortnite? Why? There is no reason, none, right? Except at some point the European Commission is going to say, well, assets in games needs to be transferable because it's games are like platform. It's like Apple. You cannot have the monopoly of what you're selling on your platform. Well, Fortnite, you cannot have the monopoly of what you're selling on your game, right? If there is a law that's coming, then something's going to change. Before that, there is no single reason of doing so. So, the Web3 business model cannot be built on this, fairy tales dreams. It's not going to come for years on, right? The business model of Web3 is developing financial aspects of games to serve for the Web2 gamers. That's where the business model is. That's where there is a massive things that can be done. Because again, when we're talking about gamers, it's not anymore just a game. It's anybody. Look, I'm just taking Candy Crush, simple game, right? If Candy Crush decide to say, okay, we're gonna put a Web3 layers there, and Web3 guys will be able to develop specific diamonds, right? And gonna have to buy lands to discover diamonds. If they discover diamonds, then they can put into the Candy Crush games. Then you've got something. Then the Web2 gamers gonna start to buy assets of Web3, financial guy who made business out of this. Then you've got something, and that's where Web3, the technology of Web3, can serve the Web2. Yeah,
and I think here in Europe, I think we've traditionally, gamers have felt often overlooked when it comes to things like gaming innovation. But what I love is that you've positioned yourselves as a strategic launch pad here in the EU. So what is it that you think makes the EU environment and ideal for a company like Ultra right now? Because it feels incredibly refreshing.
Yeah, well, EU needs to understand now. Let's go very macroeconomically, right? We've seen what how Trump play and try to fuck us those last few months, and things can change in a snap. Last year, US was like the biggest financial and business partner, and from one day to another, it becomes the enemy and the competitor that we have to be very careful with, right? And it can happen anywhere, right? The European Union needs to understand that there is some industry where you need to be present, right? You need to take a stake in, right? And when you look at games, it's very simple. It's the biggest industry in terms of data. That's where the data is, right?
Yeah.
And that's where the data will be, okay? Because again, you can see the games as Counter-Strike, Fortnite, but you can see also that the games is Duolingo, the app to learn languages, right? Who's coming up with a massive gamification of learning languages, and you can see the games of how to train at work. So games will be everywhere, and it will basically drive those data, right? And at some point, it's not like a business reason. It's a political and economical reason. We need to place ourselves there, because if we're not, we're just going to be the vassal of those big continent like China and US. And it's very simple. Today, there is not a single European platform to distribute games. It just doesn't exist, right? And when you see the size of the industry, you have to make a bet and say, okay, we need to exist, right? So if I would be a politician, one of the things that would look on the day-to-day basis is I would say to my guys, find me a gaming platform on which we need to bet in and say, those guys need to succeed, right? So, and this is how US made. Like look at what Trump did, what the US did for Musk. They give him so much fucking money that he made it, but he made it because of the states, and it's still a private company, right? And being, like more Catholic than the Pope, European Union get fucked constantly. We're making rules that nobody respecting except us, right? And supporting your own companies on the private sector to make sure that at some point you've got your independence. It's a normal thing to do, and it's what everybody's doing. So one of the people that should call me now is one of those guys from the European Union, or from the French governments, or from the Belgian government. So it's the gaming industry now. It's a political reason. It's a notion of sovereignty. I mean, it's European sovereignty is something that I've been supporting for the last 10 years, and gaming is one of the big block into the gaming into the European sovereignty.
And for any members of the ultra gaming community that might be listening to this episode now, what's your vision for on-chain gaming in Europe over the next few years? Are we talking about play to earn, digital ownership, new publishing models, or something else entirely? How do you see this panning out?
Well, play to earn is definitely something, and it's definitely. But we have to be careful with the notion of earning. What is earning? Earning is not especially money. Right?
Yeah.
It's being recognized. It's funny to see that today, and this is how much you see that gaming hasn't been watched enough by the white collars investors. Any type of industry now, you've got stars, right? You go on cooking, right? You go on sports, you go on music, you go on film, you go on any type of passion. There is stars. And let me define you what a star is, right? A star is someone who's doing his passion and is known by people who doesn't give a fuck about his passion, right? You're a star of tennis when you're known by someone who doesn't care about tennis, right? You're a star of cooking if you're known by people who doesn't care about cooking, right? There is stars everywhere, right? In gaming, if I'm asking you now, who is the world leader of Counter-Strike? You've got no clue.
Yeah.
Who is the star of Fortnite? You've got no clue. Those guys got more reach than Nadal and Djokovic together, right?
Yeah.
But nobody knows them. How is that possible? It's very simple. It's that because business people hasn't concentrated on it. Because at some point, when business people gets into tennis, what do? They start to dress the tennis man. They start to invite them at the Formula One. They start to plug them on movies. They start to starify them because it's a business. Because people, because those people playing this are the assets they are their own assets. So they're investing in it. Today, there is not enough business people who got into gaming, so the gamers are not assets yet, right? And this is where the thing's going to change in terms of things. So play to earns, it goes from the notion of starification, and starification is not especially being a star and earning lots of money. Is also somehow the spectrum of starification is first start to be known by your environment, right? And it's important to be recognized as a gamer. Recognized just first of all by yourself, being in a platform that says, wow, you've got this amount of points and you are super good in shooter in terms of on your region, on your country, on your continent, and as a casual game, you're the best of this, and knowing where you stand when you do something, right? That's the first thing. And then starting from there to being a world star, right? So the first thing of this is the notion of play to earn, and this is where definitely Web3 will help, right? All the rest is things that's going to come step by step. My first thing to me is this. The next things to this is making sure that people like gaming it's the splendid industry where there's plenty of different type of actors that intertwine, right? From from AI engineers to designers to developers to creators to gamers to plenty of different things, and those guys at some point needs to be paid for what they do. The guy who's creating an AI agent that's, I don't know, train you for a shooter, right? Well, this AI agent, you can place it on your computer. The AI agent will watch your screen and tell you what to do, right? This guy should be recognized and paid by anybody who's using it. Blockchain is managing the way of distributing value creation all along the chain, right? And it goes from the designer who's going to design something simple that can be reused by developers afterwards, right? Well, this guy should be paid for the entire value chain of it, right? And it's true in every single other industry, right? It's true in music, it's true in films, it's true everywhere. It's not true in gaming, right? It's not true in techs. So Web3 allowed you to do what has been done since mankind is there, is recognized for the value creation. Well, Web3 allowed that in tech. So I think that's where we will have the most value creation for Web3 into the gaming. Yeah.
So finally then, from your point of view, what will success look like for Ultra over the next 12 to 18 months? And equally, for people listening, what should players, developers and publishers, what should they expect to see that will ultimately prove that this model works and is the way forward?
Fuck, I mean, you took into an arrogant prick who's got distortion of reality. So, so if you tell me what success means, it's eat, steam, and life, man. That's what success is. But well, let's be honest. I'm gonna try to put my business hats and not my distortion and getting a bit in reality. The success is being a major actor, European actor in terms of gaming distribution. That's what I'm saying. European. Let's be clear. Our market is not Europe. It's a worldwide market. But it's as a European company, we are recognized as I don't know, like Ubisoft is one of these major actors in terms of game production, right? Well, the Ultra needs to be this European distribution, gaming distribution platform that is a real actor in the European ecosystem, and for the and all what means behind, meaning the size of the portfolio, the level of tech services, the type of partnership that we've got along. And if you ask me, I think the bets of Ultra, I mean, as a gaming platform, you cannot be small. That's also why if you ask me, it's big or nothing. You cannot be small in this world, and you cannot be you cannot be slow. Look where AI was like 6 months ago and where it is today, and where it's going to be in 6 months. I mean, it's just a world of difference. So Ultra is going to be massive or won't exist. That's and so for people's betting on Ultra, it's a bet like any type of bet, and I'm betting my own money, my own time, my own network, my own everything, but because I'm convinced we've got cards that nobody has yet, that we are ahead of the competition. But it's a bet, but we've got good cards to play, and Ultra, if you ask me, it will be massive or nothing.
Oh, wow. And I think that is a powerful moment to end on. And this episode is one of the most fun recordings I've had in a long time. So I'm going to see if there's something we can manifest here for you. So some of the biggest names in business, VC, funding and tech have either been guests or maybe listen to this podcast. Maybe a friend of a friend will listen. But is there a person you'd love to have a private breakfast or lunch with? Who would it be and why? He or she might just get to hear this. So let's see what we can manifest.
Well, to me, if you ask me, I wouldn't say one name. It's several names. It goes from the big billionaires who also has got responsibility in terms of European sovereignty. I'm talking about the guys I know. No names from Saade, from Xavier Nel, from Krutensky, from Pigas, from Mark Cook in Belgium. Those guys got responsibility. To me, the private sector's got massive responsibility in terms of European sovereignty. As the US markets, those big guys taking the responsibilities as well. They are true, US builders, because and China's the same. In Asia it's the same. The private sector is taking the responsibilities. And I think today and I've seen Xavier Nel opening like a massive gaming place in Paris soon. But I think those guys, those big billionaires, needs to understand how much games will be one of the big pillars of economic sovereignty, and they need to take a stake on it. And my wish is to make a breakfast with those guys and say, okay, what do we do here, right? You want to, I'm open to everything. And again, as an entrepreneur, what you want is to build, it's create value, right? At the end, if you create value, you make money, right? But it's definitely not what the game is about. The game is about making something fucking big, right? And if you ask me, is to make a breakfast with those guys and say, okay, what do we do together? We can make something massive. And playing as Americans, something, and that's something that Europe needs to understand. We need to play big, straight. You want to go on gamings? Let's put 500 million now on the table, right? And the next round will be $1.5 billion. Then in 5 years we'll be there, right? And that's how the game should be played.
Oh, love it. And I will send that out into the universe. And for anyone listening that is inspired by your mantra there of thinking bigger, building something massive, delivering value, letting everybody make money, what is the best place for anyone to find you or your team online? And equally, if it's gamers, if they just want to find out more about anything we talked about today, where would you like to point them?
Well, we're very active on Twitter, Discord. There is plenty of group in Discord and Telegram where we're putting information and stuff. And anyway, we're a small team, and I'm one phone calls away. So you go on my Telegram, on my LinkedIn, on whatever. My phone number is on my LinkedIn, right? So if anyone wants to give me a ring, I'm there, right? Happy to see what can we do together.
Awesome. Well, I'll get links added to everything. And so much I love chatting with you today. We had a lot of fun. But just talking about the gaming industry's biggest platforms, how they're stuck in the past almost with a legacy mindset. And I just love this, how passionate you are about thinking bigger, thinking massive, building big things and delivering value. A real breath of fresh air for me. So thanks for joining me.
Thank you so much, Neil. It was a pleasure to discuss with you and honored to be invited in your podcast, honestly.
As someone that's interviewed, 3,300 people on here, I think it's rare to meet someone who brings this much energy, clarity and fun to a serious conversation about the future of tech and gaming. And my guest made it clear, Ultra isn't just a platform, it's a play for sovereignty, innovation and scale. And whether it is Web3 infrastructure that stays invisible to the user or reimagining how gamers are recognised and rewarded, that vision is unapologetically bold. And this episode, for me, personally, was an absolute blast to record, but it also leaves us with a very serious question. Are legacy gaming platforms holding back the future? And are you ready for what comes next? As always, let's keep this conversation going. Techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, TikTok, just at Neil C. Hughes. Let me know your thoughts. I'll be back again tomorrow. We'll have a completely different topic to explore together. But thank you for listening today, and hopefully I'll speak with you all again very soon.